Hello!
Nagkasundo, magsamahaba buhay.
I wonder if people are still here.
Sa may kapal,
Okay.
walang iwanan, ang ibig ko tagulan. Haharapin bawat ulos na magdaan. Sana'y magmaliw ang pag-ibig, kahit galing sabihin, kahit hirap gawin, sa mundong walang katiyakan.
Hello!
Sabay natin gawin di ko alam ang gagawin kung wala ka. Buhay ko'y may kahulugan tuwing ako'y iyong hagkan. Umabot man sa ating huling hantungan.
Is anybody there?
Puso kitang hahayaan.
Is anybody there? Hello, Steffi! Hi, Steffi! I don't recall your name. Can you remind me? I can write people's names. Hi, Steffi! Oh yeah, it's a aesthetic girly. I remember you. I remember you. How are you? Hi everyone. What are you guys up to? It's noisy because the TV. Oh, see you, Steffi. Hi everyone. I'm back, I guess. Hi Ernie Canaria. Hi. I wonder what to do. What should we do? What should we do? Should we learn languages? Hi, the cameraman. Hello. Okay, we could learn languages, I think. Languages, because I think you're doing live stream after a long. Yeah, I'm doing this live stream because I'm back. I guess I'm back. It doesn't have to be very good of a stream. I just want to do something. So what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Okay. What do we wanna do, guys? Singing it's maybe my voice is a bit not warmed up yet. It's not warmed up. I could sing maybe. Hi Canaria. So what do we want to do? What do we want to do?
Pares na kami, pares. Sa Canada.
Sa Canada.
What's the most popular food in Canada? We have
Um,
poutine and beaver
we
tails.
could
Di ba sa Russia?
could do things. I don't know.
Poutine, fries, like cheese, gravy, poutine.
Oh,
Poutine.
Oh, people aren't here anymore.
Agriculture, ano, sabi ko na. Ito kasi may Castilla ito.
Oo.
Sa mga Castilla, anong pinaka-paborito mong pagkain?
Menudo.
Wow!
Ano po bang ginagawa mo? Ano? Nag-civil service exam pa lang ako nung Sunday. I did the civil service exam on Sunday, March 8th. So I'm hoping that I pass. We'll see. Civil service exam where you had verbal, numerical, general information. I reviewed for it with Brainbox. I hope I pass. I just hope I pass. How about you guys? What are you doing? What are you guys up to? My grandparents are watching Showtime outside. So, yeah. Do we want to get my paint stuff? Sa Manila ka po? Hindi. Hindi ako sa Manila. Sa Leyte ako. Leyte.
Sa Bible, no?
I'm from Leyte.
Good joke.
All you could want here, all you could need here.
Sabi kasi yung BUS pass.
Alright.
Oo. So, bakit sila rin tatalo-talo ng mga tao tungkol sa pronunciation?
Say what you wanna say and let the words fall out.
Ano ba dapat? Upcat. Bakit ako yung pinasok yun? Seven ba ang tawag ko doon?
Everyone, I met you in the dark. You let me out. You made me feel as though I was enough. We danced the night away. We drank too much. Everyone, what do we want to do? What do we want to do? Do we want to play games instead? I want to play games instead.
Maganda yung song choices, bagay sa kanila yung songs.
Yes.
And then,
Maybe we could play Roblox.
Pansin ko si Dave Eric, may semblance ng tones ng isang Eric Santos.
Lalo sa umpisa, no? Minsan yung mga...
Yung early, gravelly, na deep tones. Pero ang danger niyan, kasi kapag ganun yung kind of tone that you have vocally, dapat gagawan mo ng paraan to make it sound brighter. Ang nangyayari, kapag ganun yung tones mo at hindi mo, ginawa mo mas nasal pa yung tunog, hindi mo na naiintindihan kung ano yung kinakanta.
Sa katunog mo.
Araw-araw, ikaw ang gusto kong kasama.
Dito
ka.
May tendency na hindi mo na maintindihan yung sinasabi
Especially
niya.
yung low parts ng verses.
What do you guys wanna do? What do we want to do?
Kung may certain parts ng song na dapat sana budget pa.
Comment
Para
kayo
sa
dyan,
end
guys.
performance.
At nag-expect
Comment
ako
kayo
kasi
kung
marami
anong
nakapanood
dapat
ng
gawin
contest
natin.
kasi
Mag-paint na lang
wala
tayo.
ako pero
Let's paint.
napansin ko nag-hold back siya,
We can
nagpapasave siya
paint,
sa performance. Kaya ko lang hindi sigurado yung transition. Doon siya nabilangan, di ba?
And speaking of clarity, especially when you're singing an OPM song, napaka-importante na malinaw yung words mo.
This one.
Napaka-importante ng clarity of
And
words.
with that kind of tone, make sure na your voice will sound bright. Dito naman kay Daniel, sa kumanta ng
This
ikaw at
one?
ako, the problem is the
I don't know how to do this.
Everything yung sinasabi ko, yung
Do I do
important
this?
to have that steady rhythm. It's either mag-decide ka to be laid back or mag-decide ka to be a little sugod. Ang nangyayari sa kanya, susugod, magle-laid back, susugod,
Gonna
magle-laid
paint
back,
it.
and hindi nagiging masarap yung feel ng
Here's
kanta.
the-
Kung pakiramdam, hindi niya alam yung pyesa.
I think we should
Yan
paint
kasi yung
this.
hinihingi ng kanta, laid back, kasagod. Yung binibitawan lang yung words. Hinihingi ng kanta yung less vibrato,
can
emphasizing
paint
yung
this.
words. Na ibigay niyo naman, yun lang. For me, narinig ko, pitchy and hindi naglaland ng tama yung mga end notes niya.
hindi sigurado talaga yung dating ng buong performance for me.
Sa akin naman po, siguro dahil nasa competition na
Oh, there's only one person here. Hello.
Lagyan niya pa ng may Daniel.
There's only
na
one
signature.
person. Hi. Gwapa lagi ka, be. Labi na ang agtang sign na matalino, promise. Ah, salamat.
Pananalig ng Region 7.
Gwapa gihapon ikaw. Di ko kahibaw pag Bisaya. Gamayra. Dalawa po. Mag-paint na lang tayo, no? Mag-paint na lang. Let's paint.
Mas creamy nga.
Regular hair care can't prevent dandruff.
Paint.
Skincare care. New Dove Dermascalp with
Yeah.
skincare ingredients. Rebuilds the strength of your scalp barrier for up to 100% dandruff-free hair and 100% less hair fall.
Let's paint this. Dalawa yung nanonood.
Bravo biscuits, sesame seeds,
Lima na. Hello, good afternoon, Reggie.
Don't start from their gifted brains.
Reggie,
To help
resurrection.
fuel the four main developmental milestones. Focus,
Magpe-paint
memory,
tayo.
problem-solving, and language.
Let's paint.
Nurture
Wala kasi ako magawa.
Prono.
Actually, nagbasa ako ng book about mindsets. Mindsets by Dr. Carol S. Dweck. Maganda siyang book. Yan. Luma na. Luma na siya. Good afternoon, everyone. Same din tayo, wala akong magawa. Oh. Kaya mag-paint na lang tayo. Ito. Mag-paint tayong ganito. Yan. Nasa baba yan.
Kami pagtanghali, boss.
Yan.
Yes! Coffee ko brown.
Paint tayo.
Brown sugar. Kaya sarap. Bigla na may sarap.
Daming paint, oh. Daming colors. So, sige. Unahin sunod-sunod na lang yung ano natin. Na, kuha lang ko ng water. Water.
Period odor and discomfort? Not a problem. Use Gynecro, the most only prescribed feminine wash for long hour protection that defies period threats. We choose the expert. Gynecro, the pro in period protection.
Chef, 9 pesos lang per sachet. 33% more naman. Like milk, egg, then vitamins and iron. Tulong para may energy for the body and the brain. The only official chocolate drink of the NBA. Champion. Energy for the body, energy for the brain.
Hello? Andyan pa ba kayo? Are you still there? Hello? Mag-ano tayo? Paint. Paint tayo.
Ang programa ito ay
Let's
rated
paint.
SPG, Super Pustiso Grip. Ang kailangan
Ha?
maaaring masyado itong mahirap kainin kung yung pustiso.
Meron!
Ito.
Meron man.
Common adhesive
This
grip.
gonna
It
be
helps grow our home. Gum comfort at fruit blocker. Para laging ready for day blast.
gonna paint.
Bigay mo na ang exam. Mag-home.
One.
Great taste what? Mas creamy
Gonna
at mas
paint
makapal.
this.
Like namin. Like namin. Like the like. Like the
Blue.
natin. Great taste what?
Blue.
Sabi ni Mami, di pwedeng kulang.
Color natin to.
Hindi pwedeng bitin. Kaya sa
One.
almusal, Mami, to the rescue!
Ay, parang ang pangit naman ito.
Carbohydrates and effort
I need to color this in.
Kompleto.
Mix natin yung color para...
Tulong tong
May Roblox ka po. Meron. I have Roblox. I play Roblox
Kitchen
sometimes.
special with Ladies' Choice, the #1 mayo with best quality ingredients, 100% farm fresh eggs. Wow!
Sometimes lang.
Special Ladies' Choice.
Sumasakit na ang likod. Baka sayang yan na your mobility is at risk. Try Adlene Gold.
Pink.
Clinically proven to help strengthen bones, joints, and muscles. So you can age strong with the help of Adlene Gold. Now with a new look. May high cholesterol o diabetes? Daming bawal. Block the bawal. Say yes to Glucopro.
Bakit? Laro tayo ng Roblox.
Sugar and cholesterol. Block the bawal. Say yes to Glucopro.
Nung bata pa ako, lagi akong inuuna ni Papa.
Last chip, anak.
Ngayon ko lang na-realize kung gaano niya ako kamahal.
Last chip, anak.
Ikaw naman ba?
See what's up stories for 50 years.
Hala, naiwan ulit. It's okay.
Oh my gosh, feel ko mabagal ako dito.
It's the Nestle sugar-free.
Feel ko mabagal tayo.
Without sugar. Pwede na mag-coffee anytime you like. Try
We're
this.
gonna be slow.
After challenges, you bounce back stronger. Now, your damaged hair can
Slow.
new Dove Peptide Bond Repair
Pink.
with Bioprotein Care.
Yan.
Reconstructs up to 90%
Over
hair
there.
loss strength.
Number 1.
Reborn 20 times
Number 1
stronger.
pa lang tayo out of 12 colors.
I'm required.
We are very slow. Taking our time. Taking our time is good. We can take our time. And yeah, we just take our time. Take our sweet time. And more water. More water over there. This is really going to take time.
As a mom, I can care for them when they're sick or protect them from harmful germs. I choose Safeguard, new upgraded formula with complete 10 germ protection, unlike another antibiotic.
Man,
So it protects against 10 types
I
of
want
harmful
this to be a
germs.
bit faster, pero
Diabetic, kahit bagong gising pa na.
Lucerna with a triple control system.
I want this to be faster, but I want to take my time.
Get steady ang energy. Basta may tulong ng Lucerna, in control ka.
Nag-glow niya.
Size up ang beef patty. Ang dressing. Mas langhap sarap na. Yum! Jollibee Yumburger. 45
Yan.
pesos na rin.
So far, yan pa lang.
With the news of
We are coloring the number 1.
200% smoother hair.
The number 1.
It's like silk.
The sky is color blue.
Opico Supremo.
That's what we are coloring right now. The color blue.
Matapang, suave taste of success. Opico Supremo. Purong kape.
Yearning for great entertainment?
Ganda.
New Star
It's
Online.
very bright.
Exciting gaming?
I want to
Made just for you. Tara, let's
I
play.
want
And New
to
Star is now
finish
online.
this number 1.
Nababalik ka! No!
Dito yan. Wow.
We're average score all. 91%.
Ooh, 91% daw. Somebody sang in the tawag ng tanghalan sa Showtime. Nanonood kayo ng Showtime. Por favor, comparte con tus labios na. And I don't understand. I only know por favor. Por favor.
Happy birthday si Edgar Porcio,
Spanish.
Mula, and Atina Isabel.
Spanish to English. Let's see. Let's see.
Daisy Carino, Daisy, happy
Por favor.
Happy birthday.
Comparte. Comparte con... Oh! Contus labizna. Labizna. Contus labizna. What did you say?
Sa huling dalawang gabi, sagara na ang labanan. Ang gabi na hindi malilimutan. FPG's Batang Quiapo, ang huling dapat itanggol.
Ang programang ito ay rated SPG. Striktong
I don't
patnubay at
understand.
kabalang magulang ang kailangan.
What are you
Maaaring
saying?
masisirang tema, lengguwahe, karahasan, sexual, horror o droga na hindi angkop sa mga bata.
I'm just painting right now. Painting.
Pwede niyong tawagin ang clinic na to. You know, I expected Jassy.
Por favor.
Pero ikaw? Please. David! Hi! Oh.
Why? It's not.
Kilalang ina ng Camila. So technically, hindi siya anak. At wala kayong pamilya ni Tayo.
It's
I guess
not.
that means, ilusyon mo lang na.
Por favor.
Saan po kayo pupunta?
Siguraduhin mo na ligtas ang anak natin.
Please share with your friends. Oh! Latina. Well, what do I share? I'm just
That's a very, very
painting.
difficult thing to deal with because really
Just
what you're talking
painting.
about is market confidence.
I wish I had some other
You
camera
don't have
to
have military
actually
victory to undermine that
record
confidence. Capital is a coward.
the
Any threat of disruption has
perspective
an exponential effect on market
as
confidence.
I'm
So it is foreseeable, but the economic cost and the military cost of trying
look
to
at
eliminate
this.
what is
It's
basically
very
uncertainty,
pretty.
that is
It's very pretty
also
like you.
calculable. So
It's kind of inevitable though. I mean, it's
Very
absolutely
pretty.
unfair. The Iranians know they don't have the firepower of the United States.
More
They do
water.
A high threshold for pain, surely.
yeah,
More
People for years
water.
would come here and say, can the Iranian Navy defeat the U.S. Navy in
More
the Straits?
water
I said,
in
they can't defeat
there.
them in a bathtub in Tehran. That is
And
the wrong
number
question. The question is, can they
7.
make insurance underwriters involved and nervous? They clearly can,
Yeah.
they clearly have. I think that what we've seen is part of the reason why we're still seeing like missile launches here is the targeting set, and right now the coalition is running
We
about
are
500
painting right
airstrikes a day in
now.
Iran. Probably
We are
ballistic missile
painting
launchers, which
this
are now
beautiful
onesies, twosies scattered around the country. The assets
Ta-da.
that happen with that probably diverted to things that might be laying mines or firing anti-ship missiles on the ground. So you see
Everyone,
the trajectory of the war, which had been focused on air defense and missile suppression,
everyone
that has
is
shifted to some of these
everywhere.
naval
I
denial
can
things. But
see.
ultimately, what's going to bring us to
Hello,
the end is the
everyone.
infliction of more pain, or the promise of the infliction of more pain. which is safety.
Everyone is
Well, on
here.
that point, back to you, Russell, because initially this war was, on military sites, but now we're seeing bounce
I wonder
towards
if the
fuel
people
depots,
before would
oil,
see
and others
me
obviously to
again,
retaliate. So
would
one of their
recognize
key
me
figures the other day
still.
mentioned an eye for an eye.
Because
Where
I
the US
used
and
to,
Israel
I
are
used
doing exactly the same.
to,
What should we make of that policy?
I think for
is that
now,
good?
what we're seeing
Yes, that's good.
Mwah,
Masterpiece.
yes, perhaps. it's
And
not
then another one,
because there was
number
not
one
a
here,
clear political
over here at the top,
goal. And so they thought
over
that
here at the
once
top,
Supreme Leader is taken out of the
like
picture,
over
and
here
also
at the top.
the
Oh, I almost.
military leadership is taken out,
And when their military
You
capacity
have to
is
cover the
being
number so it
expanded
doesn't
and surrounded, or
show.
they're going to
Cover the
initiate
number.
cable. And that hasn't worked.
Cover
because
the
still
number
we're
so it
seeing
doesn't
that
show.
coordination, not between the political,
And then one more
or let's say
here.
politicians and the military side. However, there is still a strong coordination between the National Security Council and the IRGC
One
commanders, and that is
more.
working. And now there are reports that the leadership is still pretty much
Okay.
intact here.
There.
But what I'm seeing here
Some
is that so
2
the
spots.
are
And
having
some
like
more
growing
spots.
concern that
Can
yes,
I?
as it sees that the decapitation
I don't
and also
see.
reducing
Okay.
the military capacity is not working.
Some
Now
more.
the US is shifting its focus more and more on the civilian infrastructure, the public infrastructure, and the institutions, including the bank. And what could be the potential aim for that? The potential aim could be the state collapse. So usually you have been assessing that
I'm
US is
painting.
after the regime transformation or collapse
Well,
will
this
have
is
the
something I
collapse.
bought
But now
from
it seems
Facebook.
that by destroying this civilian
There was
infrastructure
this
and public
art
infrastructure,
by
civil unrest is now
I forgot the
Iranians
brand,
are extremely afraid.
but it's from
They can
Facebook
observe more
somewhere.
pain, but if there is a civil
It's
strife
I
or if
think
there is a civil unrest, that is something
it's
that's
somewhere.
really extremely dangerous for Iranians.
I think the message from both of you
Remember.
clearly is there is a significant amount
Just
more pain
painting
to
right
come
now.
by the sounds of it. Let's
Ta-da.
the Ross pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
Slowly but surely.
Well, the US is
Slowly
really
but
chancing
surely
around
wins
as
the
the
race.
global oil and gas markets into
More
turmoil. Before the
pain.
war, the two most common types of crude oil sold at around $70 a barrel. The price began to climb.
Oh, there's already 18 people here. Hi. How are you, everyone?
Then on Monday, President Donald Trump said
How are
the war would
you?
end very soon. Immediately,
How is life?
began to fall. His words impacted the market. Since then,
I'm just
with little indication that the war is actually nearing
out.
an end, prices have increased, soaring above $100 a barrel.
Not
on
much
Thursday
is
trading. Well,
happening.
a similar story is also playing out in Europe,
Just
with the
painting.
price of natural gas rising as the conflict worsened and supplies from the Gulf were cut off.
I have other
And coupled
paints.
after Donald Trump's comments.
I can paint other things.
Thousands of kilometers away in Europe, where people are seeing sharp hikes in fuel and gas prices.
I'm
The
gonna paint
International
this
Energy
first
Agency has ordered the
so
largest
I can
release of
move
government
on
oil
to
reserves
other
in
stuff.
its history to help ease the oil price shock triggered by the conflict in the Middle East. Nicholas Hunt has this from Brussels.
The aisles of a supermarket in Athens, a new front in the war in the Middle East.
There.
As energy prices rise,
You can
so
see
does
the
the cost of
blues.
food. Oil powers the farms that produce
It's
it,
the number
the trucks
one.
that move it, and the factories
It's the
that
number
package
one
it.
color.
Europeans are paying the price
And
for a
I'm
war
being
unfolding
very
far away.
slow.
Of course I'm worried, because the price increases have already put many families in serious difficulty.
Are you guys affected by the gas?
Prices at the pump in Europe are approaching $2
I mean-
a liter. The war is disrupting oil and gas supplies, and
I don't
Europe
want
does
to be
not have enough.
political, so never
Russia
mind.
does, and President Vladimir Putin is offering help. But European nations have reduced their dependence on Russian energy since it invaded Ukraine in 2022. And some leaders say backtracking would be a mistake.
Yet in current crisis, some argue that we should abandon our long-term strategy
I
and
am
even go back
reaching
to Russian fossil
towards
fuels.
down. I
This
mean,
would be a strategic
I
blunder.
am.
It would make us more dependent, more vulnerable, and weaker.
This situation in no way
Going
justifies
down,
lifting the
down,
existing
down.
sanctions against Russia, which must remain in place.
As a temporary fix, the International Energy Agency is releasing 400 million barrels of emergency crude, an unprecedented move to shield Europeans and stabilize the price of oil. Governments, too, are stepping up. Hungary is capping fuel prices. Italy is considering a windfall tax on energy companies. France is monitoring prices at fuel stations, and Greece is expanding subsidies to help households cope with rising costs. Since the beginning of the conflict in the Middle East, energy has been a crucial weapon wielded by all parties. Now, thousands of kilometers away, European leaders are scrambling to reinforce their economic defenses
Almost.
as the war's front line seems to be
Just
expanding.
slowly but
Nicholas
surely.
Hawk, Al Jazeera, Brussels.
continuing
If I
coverage of the ongoing conflict between the US, Israel, and Iran.
make
A
this
reminder
too
of
fast, it
latest
would
developments. Iraq has suspended operations at its oil ports after an attack on
it
two foreign fuel
would
tankers
mess
in the
up the
southern port of Al-Far.
numbers. It
Officials
would
say
cover
Iran
the.
was behind the strike. At least
It
one
wouldn't
crew
look
member was
good
killed while another 25
if
were
I
rescued.
do it too
The
fast.
US and Israel have continued to strike
I'm
Iran
just
with
taking my
explosions
time.
in the central city of Isfahan. Iran says more than 1,300 people have been killed since the war began. The US and Israel's attacks on Iran have sent the oil and gas markets into
These are
turmoil.
clouds.
Prices spiked when the war broke out. They
Clouds.
dropped again after Donald Trump said the war would end soon.
Okay, number one
Since then,
here.
they continue to fluctuate. The UN Security Council has passed a resolution put forward by Gulf Cooperation Council members calling on Iran to halt
Let's see.
attacks on Gulf states.
You can see that it's the shape of the cloud. Here it's dark, and here it's also dark.
Those in favor of the draft resolution, please raise their hand. The message to Tehran is clear. Stop attacking your neighboring countries in the Gulf. The draft resolution has been adopted. It condemns Iran's attacks on Gulf countries and demands they
You
stop.
can
The adoption of this resolution today sends a clear
can
message,
see
a
the
united
pink.
message from the Security Council that missile attacks and drone attacks perpetrated by the Islamic
Wish I can do
Republic of
this
Iran
faster,
that targeted a number of regional
but
states,
it's not
including the Kingdom of Bahrain,
easy.
are completely rejected and are flagrant violations of the Charter of the United Nations and international law and the principles of good neighborliness.
Before the meeting, Qatar's ambassador said Iran's attacks are illegal.
Let us be clear. These attacks by the Islamic Republic of Iran have targeted our sovereign territory, endangered civilian populations, and caused damage to civilian infrastructure and the state of Qatar. These actions are a clear violation of international law and the UN Charter.
Do you guys like
135
peanut butter
countries
cookies, by
co-sponsored
the way?
resolution. That is the
Peanut
most
butter.
co-sponsors of any Security
There's only
Council
two
resolution
people here.
ever. The level of support
Hi.
is unprecedented.
Iran's ambassador said
Hi,
Tehran
everyone.
would not recognize the resolution because it doesn't condemn the US and Israeli attacks.
Oh,
on
there's
his
only
country.
one person.
The cause of this bias
Hi.
and motivated text which was pushed by Israeli regime and
It's
the
probably
United
my
States
mom.
is clear. It reversed the roles and
My
position
mama.
of victims and aggressors. It was the regime of the United States and Israel, which have violated the UN Charter and committed act of aggression.
Russia and China agree with
There.
Iran, but abstain rather than using their veto power. This meeting is adjourned. The world has now spoken. The big question now is, will Tehran listen? Gabriel Ozanto, Al Jazeera, United Nations of New York.
Well, the US is waging war on Iran led to angry scenes in the UK's House of Commons, the lower house, on Wednesday. Public opinion is against direct British involvement. As Richard Gatesford reports from RAF England,
painting.
preparations are underway for further heavy bombing raids.
Where
Bunker-busting
else?
J-Dam
One,
bombs alluded to
one,
B-1 Lancer bombers at RAF Fairford. It signals a
One.
change in choice of munitions technology, with a different type of standoff missile system being removed from the aircraft. A US Air Force cargo plane
I
delivers
wish there was a
supplies to
smaller
base
brush.
that's fast become an active hub for strategic bombing operations.
A smaller
Troy
brush
built
would
J-Dam
would
bombs
work
received being
nice.
taken across the runway. 3 B-1 bombers returned here to Fairford after what's believed to be the first US mission to Iran from a British base during this conflict. And throughout the day, along with the rest of the world's media and the public who live around here, we've been watching the ground crew maintain those aircraft and rearm them. MPs on the House of Commons Defence Select Committee have been briefed on the use of British bases for
Yeah.
what should be defensive operations.
See?
Well,
I'm
as you know,
almost
there's been a continued
this
conversation
way.
between the British government and the Americans, and the British are actually looking at each individual target and
The
clearing
bright side
as
is
is-
that
as
the
is
number
standard
ones
procedure.
are
So we're
only
making
in the
sure that
sky.
the Americans
It's
are
mainly in the
operating
sky
within the
area.
agreement that we have with them around
So I
these
just have
devices.
to
The Prime Minister's
make
faced
sure
criticism from opposition
I
leaders
put it
for
in the
not helping Donald Trump with the joint Israeli
I put it
assault
in
on
the
Iran.
right place.
He feels his judgment was right.
I'm not going to take lectures from someone who says we should join the war. A week later says, can I change my mind? I got that wrong. It is deeply embarrassing.
British opinion polls show a large and growing majority against the war. The fact that some of it is now being waged from the UK is likely to raise
Maybe
tough
when I
questions for the
grow
government
up,
in the
I
coming
can
days. Richard Gibson,
grow up big
Al
and
Jazeera,
strong.
Fairford, England.
I can have a better
South Korea,
setup
the US-Israeli war in Iran has
and make
pushed
and do
14,000
better
businesses with
streams.
ties to the Middle East into crisis, and many more that depend on
Oh,
oil-based
there's no more
petrochemicals
people.
are facing imminent closure. The war is putting
That's
the country's
fine.
industrialized economy in
I have
serious
7
risk.
likes. That's
Jack
alright.
Barton reports from Seoul.
South Korean plastics manufacturer Hongman Inc. inspecting the last bags of raw materials produced from crude oil. Only 1 in 4 workers remain, and all production is about to stop.
Yesterday, I got a phone call saying that suddenly there's a shortage of raw materials. So the raw materials provider is no longer shipping them out.
It's a story being told across South Korea after US and Israeli attacks on Iran triggered an energy crisis far beyond the Middle East.
Everything is connected in a chain. So rather than just plastic factories being affected, petrochemicals have ripple effects across the entire industry.
A ripple that affects everything from automobiles and cosmetics to fertilizer and food. All of which are being hit by the additional impact of rising transport costs, leading to inflation, lowered growth forecasts, and a battered Korean won.
Almost.
70% of South Korea's oil passes through the Strait of Hormuz off the coast of Iran. Iran's Revolutionary Guard has effectively closed the waterway as part of the war.
It will be advisable to work closely with strategic partner countries to swiftly identify alternative supply routes that do not pass through the Strait of Hormuz.
But alternatives will come at a higher price, and they will arrive too late for many.
The domestic economy is already extremely bad and has already sunk to the bottom. And if on top of that we face destruction of raw material supply, then factories like ours would have difficulty surviving.
Until oil transit returns to normal, all Han can do is oversee the final order his company can fill on a machine about to fall silent. Jack Barton, Al Jazeera.
Oh no, I did
There are growing
something bad.
fears that the war in the Middle East and all the disruption in the Strait
I'm
of
already
Hormuz will likely
messing
have
it up.
major consequences for global food production. That's because beyond just oil and gas, the region is also a major
I'm getting
exporter
lazy.
of fertilizer. But look at Centurion explains.
The Middle East is known for its vast oil and gas reserves. Now, the abundance of natural gas has spurred another critical industry, one that makes raw materials for fertilizers. Now, several countries in the region export urea, the most widely used
Hi, whoever
fertilizer,
joined
nearly
in.
half of global food production.
How are
And
you?
several crops would fail without it.
I'm
The
just
region also
painting
makes
this.
ammonia and phosphate fertilizers. Now, Qatar
It's
is a
something I
leading
bought
urea
on
exporter.
Facebook.
Its state-owned company stopped the
pretty.
manufacture of ammonia
I
and
just have
urea
to paint
after
it
it stopped
in.
production of liquefied natural gas. And that happened after Iranian drone strikes on some of its facilities. The Iranian blockade of the Strait of Hormuz is also a big problem, and it's impacting fertilizer supplies. Nearly a third of globally traded urea needs to pass through this critical waterway to reach suppliers. And it comes at a time when farmers across the world are sowing spring crops. So even a few weeks delay has a critical impact. Now, India, the second largest fertilizer consumer, is impacted. It buys nearly 40% of its urea and phosphate-based fertilizers from
The
the
cloud
Middle
is
East.
quite pretty.
The US, on the other hand, is a major fertilizer producer, and yet it needs to import volumes of ammonia and urea. And President Donald Trump's on and off tariff policies has not helped farmers here stock up. Africa, on the other hand, is already facing a severe food crisis with millions going hungry. Now, the war in the Middle East is likely to worsen this situation. Urea shot up nearly 20% right after the first strike on Iran. Now, the US and Israel's war on Iran
Hi.
and Iran's retaliation has far greater consequences than what we
We
see
are
in
being
at a fuel station near you. Longer the war continues, higher the food prices are likely to be.
Australia imports almost 70% of urea, and its farmers are already being hit hard by soil fertilizer
Ha?
prices.
Wala.
Protein farmers are under pressure to stockpile as much as they can ahead of sowing season. There are Robinson reports from central New South Wales.
In today's agricultural market, when fertilizer is available and how much it costs is beyond a farmer's control. So Lachlan Smith is stockpiling everything he can.
I think it's going to be useful. I've never seen fuel price and fertilizer go so quickly at such a critical time. We've got lands to feed the fleet, we want to their costing. It really is a critical time. We have nowhere
Let's
to go.
see.
The Middle East is a major supplier of urea, the main chemical widely used as a fertilizer, and Australia imports most of its supplies.
Hello,
Shipping
my one
delays in the
viewer.
Strait of Hormuz have led to price
It's nice
increases.
to
Farmers here tell us it's
see you.
already spiked by 20%, threatening grain production.
It doesn't just affect farmers in terms of input costs, but those input costs will be transferred to consumers in terms of the bread and meat.
Really?
Higher fuel prices are compounding the situation, with each livestock feed delivery more expensive than the last. Farmers here are often described as the backbone of the Australian economy, and so the pressures felt here could ripple through the supply chain, with warnings the entire food industry could be at risk. Small grains carrying the weight of economic survival. Danielle Robinson, Al Jazeera, Central West New South Wales, Australia.
Alicia Ellis is a professor of practice at Arizona State University.
Okay,
She says
one.
the timing of this conflict is what's making it especially
I think
bad
all
for
the
global
number
farmers.
ones are already painted
Gulf
in.
is crucially important to both fertilizer production as well as natural gas. And of course, the strait is critical to their distribution, right? But these are also very tightly linked to one another because natural gas both fuels the process, but it's also a key ingredient in the production of synthetic nitrogen. So that's really key. But the big problem that I'm putting out right now is that timing really matters more than anything. Fertilizer application has to be done through natural planting, and planting has to be done when the weather
We're
is not allowed to right? So the
a landscape.
closer that supply shops are to planting season, regardless of whether it's coming from transportation and distribution or from production, the harder those disruptions are to absorb. 3 weeks is a pretty impressive window in which global markets can adjust, right? The problem is that those windows are, of course, narrow in agriculture. Farmers also have other options, right? You can think about planting something else. You could think about delaying it a little bit. You could think about changing your application rates or the type of fertilizer you're using. But all of those are going to have an impact on yield. So there's no way around farmers facing difficult choices in the weeks ahead if it doesn't get better.
Switzerland has temporarily closed its embassy in Tehran, but it's pledged to keep an open line of communication between the US and Iran. The Swiss ambassador cited security risks, but promised to return as soon as possible. Switzerland has played a key role in maintaining basic diplomatic contacts between Washington and Tehran ever since the 1979 revolution.
It's really pretty.
Let's take a look at some of the day's other news now. And an Israeli airstrike killed a Palestinian man and injured dozens more on Tuesday. Israel has been bombarding the Gaza Strip despite a ceasefire deal that took effect in October. The Palestinian Health Ministry says these attacks have killed more than 600 people across the Gaza Strip. Ibrahim Al-Khalili reports from Gaza
It's
City.
really pretty. Did I miss any number ones? I didn't.
But the Israeli forces had other plans. Another ceasefire violation committed by the Israeli forces
here in the west of Gaza City, resulting in killing one Palestinian
Okay.
and
Oh
many
wait,
more here
I
in
missed
their
it
country.
here.
With the basic necessities during the holy month of Ramadan, we can clearly see here the situation is catastrophic in the light of the ongoing Israeli violations.
I'm painting. It's something I bought from Facebook, and I have different colors over here. So I'm just filling it in with color.
Civil defense teams have arrived to a place here to rescue the injured Palestinians. What was meant to be a place of family gathering to get the basic necessities for their families now turned into a site of guilty attacks. Al Jazeera, Gaza City, Palestine.
The latest exchange of drone fire with Russia has killed 4 people in Ukraine. Attacks killed 2 people and wounded several others in the eastern city of Kharkiv. Just 30 kilometers from the Russian border, Ukraine's second largest city has been under constant attack throughout the 4-year conflict. There were further casualties when a car was hit by a drone in the Russian-occupied part of the southern Zaporizhia region. Soldiers are being deployed to the streets of South Africa's biggest city in an effort to help police fight gang violence and illegal mining. Last month, President Cyril Ramaphosa warned he would use the army against organised crime there, which he called the greatest threat to democracy and the country's economic development. Soldiers were seen jumping from vehicles and entering apartment blocks as the military moved through the suburbs of Johannesburg. Tensions are rising again in northern Ethiopia, raising fears of another war in the Tigray region just 3 years after the devastating conflict with hundreds of thousands of people. Residents say banks are running out of cash and basic supplies are scarce, and federal forces are once again patrolling near the region's borders.
We are
Civilians are now leaving the regional capital, Heyy, fearing the fragile peace could collapse. After we saw reports.
People from Ethiopia's
Painting this
are leaving the capital
landscape.
Mekelle by whatever means they can.
There.
Some say they're escaping the possibility
We just finished the color, the number 1.
and forces from Eritrea.
I think so.
We are really
I
scared.
think we
During the
finished
last
with the
war, I
number
was pregnant.
ones.
I had to flee from here to Mekelle. I suffered a lot
Yeah.
during delivery. All that suffering had passed and we returned here.
At the northern
Oh wait,
border with Eritrea, banks are running out of
I
cash
missed
and
this.
basic supplies are scarce. Everyone remembers
Missed
the
it.
last conflict.
Also this one.
Starting in 2020, Ethiopian government forces fought alongside soldiers in Eritrea to contain the Tigray People's Liberation Front, or TPLF. All sides have been accused of human rights abuses.
Many civilians died here, not only those who went to fight. Civilians who stayed behind also died. This is why people are now leaving their property behind and fleeing.
By the time it ended 2 years later, more than 600,000 people have been killed and many more displaced. About 150 kilometers south of Mekelle, the scars of that war remain. The town of Chercher borders Amhara region. People here are not just worried about tensions with Eritrea, but ongoing conflicts between armed groups at the border with Tigray.
I don't know for certain if war is coming, but from what people are saying, I think war is inevitable. We feel very close to disaster. I don't know what to do.
There.
Analysts say what's happening between Eritrea and Ethiopia is partly over access to the Red Sea. When Eritrea declared
Number
independence from
1.
Ethiopia in 1993, Ethiopia lost direct access to
Okay,
the
I
sea.
think I can move on to
Relations
number
have been
2
strained
already.
since. All this as Ethiopia
Okay.
is preparing
Moving
for
on to
election
number
in May.
2.
People in Tigray are calling on all sides to de-escalate before fighting erupts again. That is all. Al Jazeera.
Barker, this is Al Jazeera live from Doha.
Number 2.
Iraq stops oil operation after an attack on 2 foreign oil tankers in its southern port. Brent crude oil prices soar past $100 a barrel as Iran targets energy facilities in the Middle East.
Hi.
Coordinated attacks
We're
across
just
Israel.
painting.
Israel keeps up its strikes in Lebanon. At least 8 people are killed in an attack on a popular beachfront neighborhood there. Good to have you. Iran has been targeting fuel storage facilities as the conflict in the Middle East enters its 13th day. Thus, of course, sending the price of Brent crude oil up over $100 a barrel. Iraq has suspended operations at its oil ports after 2 foreign fuel tankers were hit in the southern port of Al-Far. At least 1 crew member was killed, while another 25 were rescued. Multiple drones struck fuel storage tanks at the port of Salalah in Oman on Wednesday. The strike triggered explosions and towering flames. Salala's port is an important hub for tankers seeking to bypass the Strait of Hormuz. And a towing vessel was hit by a projectile while transiting the Strait of Hormuz, also on Wednesday. The UK Maritime Trade Operations
We are
Centre said a
painting with the
fire broke out on
numbers
board.
with
20
the
crew
second
members have been
color
rescued
already.
following the attack. Early Thursday morning, Bahrain's
With the
Interior
second
Ministry also
color.
reported an attack on fuel storage tanks at a facility in Marak Governorate.
It looks invisible actually.
Authorities are taking measures to handle
This
the incident
this
as
color,
fuel site.
this color
Meanwhile, there have
green.
been more strikes on Iran with explosions seen in the central city of Isfahan. Iran says Israel and the United States have hit nearly 10,000
That's the
civilian
second
sites since the war
color.
began, killing more than 1,300 civilians. Earlier, Israel was the target of a coordinated attack by Hezbollah and Iran. Tehran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps confirmed it was the first joint attack since the start of the war on Iran. Well, we have correspondents covering developments in Doha, Washington DC, Beirut and Erbil in Iraq, and that is where Assad Bey is live for us. Assad, talk us through the attacks off the coast of Basra.
Oh, you could
Well,
want
what we're seeing is a significant escalation here on Iraq's southern coast. Now, what we understand from authorities, the vessels were targeted as they were carrying out a ship-to-ship transfer, forcing Iraq to temporarily halt operations at those oil terminals whilst it assesses the situation. Now, it's not clear what actually hit those vessels, whether it was a missile, a drone, or even a seaborne drone. We're just waiting to hear from the authorities when they figure that out. But the port there is extremely important for Iraq. Most of Iraq's oil exports are leave from those ports on the southern coastline. Now, Iraq's oil ministry has said that any targeting of vessels threatens Iraq's economy as well as the freedom of maritime navigation. Now, Iraq relies heavily on oil revenues to fund the state, so even a sustained disruption to that can have major economic consequences, and that's the real fear here.
And Assad, meanwhile, there's been another attack on the headquarters of the Kurdish group, the Popular Mobilization Front. What are you hearing about that attack? We understand at least 20 killed. What happened?
Yes, at least 20 killed. So we understand at least 3 bases were targeted in the Anbar province in the Al-Qaim area near the Syrian border. Now, the Popular Mobilization Forces come under the control of the Iraqi military, and some of those factions within the Popular Mobilization Forces are aligned to Iran. So that's why they're probably being targeted. Now, we don't know whether it was a drone or missile strike, but what we are hearing is that this is again one of the most significant attacks we've seen on the Popular Mobilization Forces since the start
I don't know if you
of the
could
war.
see.
Now, one of Iraq's national security advisors, Hassan al-Araji, has condemned what he called a terrorist attack against the Popular Mobilization Forces and a violation of its sovereignty. Now, just to give you the context, some of the factions within the PMF have been targeting American bases in Iraq, but also here in the Kurdistan region in northern Iraq, where I am now in Erbil. And last night, Erbil saw one of the most busiest nights in terms of drone strikes and attacks and missile strikes since the start of the war. Authorities here in Erbil say at least 17 drones were launched targeting Erbil. They say most of those were intercepted. But also Iran has said that they've launched attacks on Habib base, where it's believed that US forces are based. And again, the last day or so has seen the most significant number of attacks and escalation here in Iraq since the start of the conflict.
That's our big Erbil, many thanks. Right, let's get a picture now from across the Gulf region. Zain Basravi's monitoring all the developments from here in Doha. And as we've been reporting, Zain strikes on oil targets in the Gulf this morning. Talk us through what's been hit.
Well, looking at all the incident reports over the course of the last 2 weeks since the war began, one thing becomes clear: the frequency and volume of attacks may be going down depending on the day, but the reality is that Iran is consistently, day after day, expanding the spread of its attacks as it carries out this retaliation for coming under attack by the U.S. and Israel, retaliation on its Arab neighbors. What we're seeing now is it is continuing to use not only the Strait of Hormuz as a pressure point, but the oil industry at large in the region as a pressure point. Now, I'm going to go through a couple of things we've got here. Just quickly, the Saudi Ministry of Defense has announced it intercepted and destroyed 30 drones targeting various areas over the course of the night, over the course of the last 12 hours. It also intercepted 3 ballistic missiles launched at Prince Sultan Air Base, commonly used by a large number of U.S. forces, as well as multiple attacks being thwarted on Saudi Arabia's Sheba oil fields. In Bahrain, the Interior Ministry said that a fuel storage tank at a facility in Muharraq Governorate came under attack by Iran, sparking a fire. There was a series of attacks targeting facilities in several countries. And what we know in Oman, of course, as you say, there was an attack on oil tankers that resulted in a blaze there as well, and Oman announcing that it was moving many of its oil tankers away from the ports on the coast as a precautionary measure. And there were multiple attacks in the UAE, air defenses going up there, smoke rising from Bahrain International Airport, sirens sounding there, attacks in Kuwait. The list goes on, and more we see what is happening is they're continuing to put pressure on populated areas, on areas they consider U.S. assets, on multiple targets, but more and more the focus of Iranian attacks is shifting to the oil industry, because as long as they can't sell theirs, they say no one in the region will be able to do the same.
And so we understand that some electricity has been cut by those attacks in Kuwait, obviously putting pressure, as you say, on civilian infrastructure. We know, of course, as we look at these pictures of huge fires in Bahrain and in Oman, lighting up the night sky. For years, of course, the Gulf states have tried to prevent scenes exactly like this. So how are they now calibrating their response?
Hello.
Well, the Gulf Arab states are in a really difficult position. Even before all of this started months ago, what they've been trying to do is mediation efforts to try to
This
make
is
sure
so
that
hard.
war never happens. That has failed, because the people in the driver's seat are largely the United States and Israel from the beginning of the war, and it does matter who started it. And Iran is in the driver's seat for reacting to it and retaliating in this massive way. Now, the Arab states have said over and over again, especially Qatar, one of the loudest voices here, said telling Iran, an ally, that it has made a major miscalculation by attacking its neighbors. Iran says it doesn't consider neighboring countries as neutral if they're harboring U.S. bases or U.S. assets of any kind, and all targets are fair. But the reality is that the Gulf Arab states have been thrust into a position of having to really navigate a minefield. They don't want to be drawn into a war that isn't theirs, but they can't not fight for their sovereignty. They cannot condemn what Iran is doing in terms of retaliatory attacks, but they have to be a share at the negotiating table, because the only way out of this is not punching their way out of this fight, it is by coming back to the negotiating table. Now, Qatar's Prime Minister and Foreign Ministers are speaking to the Council of Ministers here in Qatar.
All right.
نجتمع اليوم والمنطقة الموجودة عسيرة.
We meet today as our region is going through grave circumstances due to the ongoing military escalation that has affected the region and has also targeted the state of Qatar, regrettably, with repeated attacks from Iran, which have not been limited to military targets alone, but have also struck civilian targets, showing little regard for the harm inflicted upon Qatar and the resources of its people.
وهنا أود أن أؤكد عليكم أهمية وضعف هذه المرحلة.
At this stage, it is important to recognize the significance of the moment our country is going through. Qatar has faced many difficult challenges in recent years, and each time, by the grace of God, we have emerged stronger.
Hello.
Such experiences have taught us the importance of perseverance and the need to continue strengthening the resilience of our country in the face of such challenges. Therefore,
Hi,
under the current political
everyone.
and economic circumstances, I urge you all to prioritize spending in ways that strengthen our resilience. And when this hardship passes, God willing, we must maintain this same level of commitment.
So it is about resilience. It is about white-knuckling this moment, about not giving in to the baser instinct of joining the fight and retaliating. It is about maintaining defenses and the security of cities like cities across the Gulf Arab states. Maintaining security, but at the same time, maintaining a level head and continuing to be a voice of reason, so to speak. Now, the longer this war goes on, the harder that task will be. But Qatar and other Gulf states are likely to play the mediator role once again to try to bring this conflict to an end.
Zain Masrawi in Doha, thank you. US President Donald Trump has urged oil tankers to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, even as Iran tightens its chokehold on the crucial maritime route. Trump promised safe passage for the vessels, but didn't provide details. A fifth of the world's oil and liquefied natural gas trade passes through the strait. Iran says it's ready for a long war of attrition that would destroy the world economy. But the US President also said the operation against Iran isn't over yet.
We took out just about all of their mine ships in one night. We're up to boat number 60. I didn't realize they had that big a navy.
That part on the whole household would be off if I just.
But every one of their ships, just about all of their navy is gone. Bottom of the
Let's go to Ross and Jordan, who joins us live from Washington, D.C. Ross, I wonder if you can help us decipher some of the things that Donald Trump has said, because he's urging tankers to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, even, of course, as Iran continues to block that all-important strait. And he's also saying that the operation against Iran isn't over, while a while ago implying that the White House saying that Iran is evaporating.
You could comment in the chat. I can
really
read.
depends on the day
I
and
can
it
read your
depends on the hour,
chats.
but I think it is fair to say at this point that the U.S. has not formally announced when it's going to stop its war against Iran. The U.S. President Donald Trump has been saying to anyone who will listen that he believes that the air war against Iranian targets has been going quite well, and that in essence, in his opinion, the United States has already won. But then in the same breath,
I don't
the
know if
president
it's
will then
making
say
any difference.
that the war
Maybe it's not
continues.
yet.
We do not see any movement of the two aircraft carrier groups that have been positioned in the Middle East to move away to stop their operations. We do not see any effort to not try to spend any more money. In fact, according to some reports, the Pentagon told congressional officials on Wednesday that the first 6 days of the war essentially have cost not just $1 billion a day, but closer to $2 billion a day. And the Pentagon apparently is trying to get a replenishment and get money to replenish the Tomahawks, the Patriots, the other missiles and equipment that they have used already in prosecuting this war. So it doesn't appear as if anything is ending anytime soon.
So on the one hand, Donald Trump's claiming that the war is virtually won, but on the other hand, they're also suggesting that there might be a degree of energy pain to come at the same time.
I think that's all of it.
Of course, given the fact that this is a president who has promised a kind of America First approach, particularly when it comes to natural resources.
That's true, but it is important to point out to our international audience that much of the petroleum that is produced here in the United States is sold overseas. It is not for domestic consumption, and in fact, that the heating oil and the fuel used to power trucks and cars and other vehicles is largely imported, and that's because of the kind of crude oil that is needed for those particular purposes. It's also worth pointing out that the president is aware of the price hikes because oil companies are concerned about having continued access to those products as this war continues, and when there's any sort of tension, the prices jump. Perhaps most
What
important,
else?
U.S.
What
consumers
else?
are seeing a real impact on their budgets because the
I
price
think there's
of a
one
gallon
more.
of regular unleaded fuel here in the U.S. has jumped 50 cents per gallon or 3.7 liters, and that's a considerable amount of money for working class
Okay, I
families or
think
for
I'm
middle class
done.
families that very much
I think I'm
operate
done at
on
work. Oh
budgets.
wait,
And
no.
when the cost of fundamental essentials such as fuel goes up so dramatically, that's less money for other things that they need to care for their families. And so
There.
this is already having a political impact. It's already causing concern among those members of Congress who are up for re-election. And so there is outside pressure to try to wrap the war up sooner rather than later,
There.
if for no other reason than for political viability.
President Jordan, Washington, D.C., thank you very much. Now, the US and Israeli strikes on Iran have caused widespread destruction. The government says that at least 1,348 people have been killed since the war began nearly 2 weeks ago. More than 200 women and children are among the dead, including an 8-month-old baby. 17,000 people have been injured, and hospitals have been severely affected. At least 100 healthcare facilities have come under attack. Well, those are just some of the more than 19,000 civilian sites that have been destroyed or damaged by US-Israeli attacks. Dr. Ali Jafarian is Iran's Deputy Health Minister, and he joins us live from Iran's capital, Tehran. A very warm welcome to you. So, Dr. Jafarian, the World Health Organization reports that more
It's
than
on my hands
1,300
now.
Iranians have been killed, as we've said, and 9,000 have been injured in the last 12 days. You are the man leading the medical response. What is the single greatest challenge your doctors and surgeons are facing in Tehran's hospitals right now?
Thank you for the time and good
Na
day.
na 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 na
If
na.
we talk about the Tehran city
In the
itself,
car.
there is no major problem for our health services because our health services are very well prepared for every attack, and we are keeping emergency rooms, facilities ready
Hello.
for any
You
wounded
could
people that
comment.
come
I
to
could
us.
see your chat.
Unfortunately, there are a lot of, as you said, there are a lot of, victims
I could
which are
check your
killed at
chat
the
if
scene
you
because
feel
they
like
are doing
talking.
like, as they, all commentator says, carpet bombing and bombing, somewhere like a bank branch or neighborhoods, and these attacks made many of our people killed in the scene. As you said, we have now, till now, we had 1,395 people killed, excluding those who are under the shake down the buildings. There may be some bodies there, but as far as we now know, and most of these people are civilians. These are all living in neighborhoods, and in the past 4 days, the attacks to the neighborhoods and city areas, non-military, non-police, and everything else is increasing. So we have this problem.
Okay.
Serving the people who come to us is okay, and we are ready for that.
Okay, can you give us then, because you described it as carpet bombing, can you give us a number on how many pharmaceutical and medical centres have been damaged by US and Israeli strikes? How many of your major trauma hospitals are currently operating without consistent electricity or medical supplies?
Yeah, we have 31 major clinical facilities and hospitals damaged. 12 of those hospitals are inactive now, and we have to evacuate 6 centers because of the attacks and these logistic issues. On the other hand, we have 149 of our health centers and primary health care system damaged, that, and 100 of these centers are damaged in the past 4 days. So that means that they are doing proper bombing, really, because the health centers is somewhere that everybody is coming to give the primary health care services, like the pregnant women, kids, and so on. And unfortunately, we had two of our healthcare workers in these centers killed in the past 4 days. And also, we did have 18 ambulances, 4 of them are out of work, 1 helicopter ambulance, which is out of work, and 1 sea ambulance, which is out of work now, and 31 hospital emergency unit systems damaged. 4 of them are now not working at all.
The IRGC recently stated that Iran is prepared for a 6-month war. However, reports from January showed your hospitals were already at a critical phase due to mass internal protests in the country. Was the health system ever truly prepared for a full-scale military conflict like this?
We have had the experience of 8 years war with Iraq, which was the same things, and so we have to evacuate a lot of the wounded people from the battlefield to the cities. So my country and our health service is ready for that, and we are working on it, and we are doing everything we need for even more situations. I hope not happening, but the health system is ready for that. Our centers around the world, around the country is more than 1,000 hospitals are doing and serving the people.
Dr. Jafarian, you must concede that the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz and the closure, we know now, of Dubai's humanitarian hub have frozen something like $18 million in medical supplies that are precisely intended for this region. Iranian civilians must be asking why the government continues this maritime blockade that prevents international humanitarian aid from reaching its own people. I mean, is the state's military strategy, do you think, more important than the health of Iranian citizens?
I'm not sure that what is happening there, but as far as I know, we are trying to import all of the medicines and equipment and supplies from different routes that we have. We do not have any flight to Iran now, and the southern coast of Iran is under attack several times, even some days. So we have a lot of limitations added to the severe sanctions against us and the money transfer and these issues. But we are trying to reach to all of those sources in different ways and bring them in. We do have strategic support for 6 months. We did it before, and we are trying to replace it as is used.
Ordinarily, you would have had support on your doorstep, but things have changed significantly. I mean, the UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and others have often put aside deep political tensions to help Iran during the COVID pandemic and the 2019 floods. I mean, during the pandemic, they provided masks and ventilators to Iran. Likewise, Iran provided Qatar with food and airspace during the 4-year blockade of the country. Do you now fear, with the attacks against the Gulf countries underway, that your government and military is burning diplomatic bridges and inflicting pain and destruction unnecessarily?
I'm not a political guy, and I'm not ready to answer these questions because it is out of my expertise and out of my responsibility. But the UAE has helped us in the 12 days war with the United States and Israel. They send us a lot of medicines and medical equipment. And we have a good relationship with all of the Persian Gulf and Arab countries.
But do you worry, Doctor, that relationship is now no more, that bridges have been burnt, that these old neighbourly alliances that Iran had in the Gulf countries are now completely evaporating before our eyes? I know you're not prepared to answer political questions, but as a medical man, you must see what impact that might have on the ground when it comes to that safety and healthcare of Iranian citizens.
Really, I hope that these bridges be rebuilt. If it is destroyed now, I don't think so. But if it is destroyed, it will be rebuilt again between Iran and the Arab countries. And we have had a very good relationship for many years, and I hope that we will continue to do that. But as you know, there are a lot of United States military bases in some of those countries, and and they are used to attack Iran in this. You know, the in of the school, elementary school, was one example, which was, you know, the tomahawk was used to strike the school in a double tap manner, and this is not, you know, it's insane. And you know, the state president said that it was Iran that attacked the school, and so on. These are done from the US bases, India and some Arab countries. So that's made us to attack those bases.
Just to be clear, it is not verified that these bases are being used to launch attacks on Iran. Multiple Gulf countries have made it very, very clear that they do not want the United States to use their sovereign territory to launch those kind of attacks. But I hear what you're saying about hoping that any bridges that are being destroyed now may potentially, when this war eventually is over, could be restored. Dr. Ali Jafarian, the Deputy Health Minister of Iran, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, also.
Now, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has said on X that his country is committed to peace in the region, but he's also laid out what he sees as a path to de-escalation. He said the only way to end this war, ignited by the Zionist regime and the US, is recognizing Iran's legitimate rights, payment of reparations.
Okay, I think that's all for number 1, 2, and 3.
Future aggression. Sharam Awazadeh is the director of the Middle East Studies Forum at Deakin University, joins us live from Melbourne. A very warm welcome to the program. So we've seen President Pezeshkian posting.
Okay, now for number 4.
On social media. Let's go through it bit by bit. I mean, because he's asking for first the recognition of Iran's quote legitimate rights. What does he mean by that?
Well, thanks for having me. I think what we're seeing is a repetition of Iran's long-standing demands in relation to its right to develop its own nuclear program. So for Iran, this is a matter of national sovereignty. Iran is party to NPT, and as a result, sees itself to have legitimate rights and claim to nuclear power. So that's primarily an old and existing demand by the authorities in Iran. So Pezeshkian is simply repeating that.
I mean, that must be like a red rag to a bull for the Americans right now, with Pezeshkian basically digging in his heels and saying, irrespective of all of the bombs that have been raining down on Tehran, we still maintain the right to nuclear energy and a defense program, a ballistic defense program, without fear of being destroyed.
Well, that's exactly right. I think Pezeshkian is, again, reiterating and repeating the hardline policies of Iran. This is what got Iran to this war in the first place. And that's why Iran is being punished by the US and Israel. And it does signify that the hardline policies of Iran are pretty much intact, and there has been no cracks in the regime to even question some of those really basic principles of the Iranian regime.
And another example of, as you say, the Iranian regime holding firm is this demand of payment of reparations. I mean, presumably demanding compensation, what, for the Americans and the Israelis for the huge damage to infrastructure?
Well, absolutely. There's been a lot of damage done to the Iranian infrastructure, not just defense and military, but civilian, as we have heard. So this is, in a way, a symbolic gesture to say that you have been the aggressor, you need to pay for it. You broke it, you pay for it.
Right, and lastly, the last point, international guarantees, presumably ironclad assurances that this won't happen again.
Well, this really speaks to the level of distrust that the Iranians have towards the United States. You have to remember that Iran was in talks with the United States twice over its nuclear program, and twice the United States just attacked Iran in the middle of talks. So even before this, the Iranian authorities were saying, how can we trust Trump? He tore up the nuclear deal that Obama had agreed on. How can can you trust him now? So now this is a real statement of how deeply distrustful and suspicious of Trump and the US they are in Iran.
I was going to ask you whether you feel that there's a kind of a good cop, bad cop thing going on at the moment with Masoud Pezeshkian offering this kind of olive branch of diplomacy while the IRGC continues to launch missiles and hit tankers. But what you've explained basically is that you feel that the entire leadership is coalescing around a hardline stance on how to prosecute this war.
That's absolutely right. I don't think there's a case of good cop, bad cop here. I think Pezeshkian showed a bit of remorse early on, a couple of days ago, when he apologized for Iran's attack on neighboring countries, but he was quickly corrected, and he has really come back in. He's been brought back to line, and the authorities are driving a hardline policy, especially with Mustafa Khamenei now as a supreme leader. The hardline policy has just been reaffirmed.
Okay, Sharam Akbarzadeh, Director of the Middle East Studies Forum at Deakin University. Many thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Now, the Lebanese capital has been under another night of heavy Israeli bombardment. At least 8 people were killed in an Israeli attack on a popular beachfront district in Beirut. More than 30 people were injured in that strike on Ramat al-Baida. Zaina Hodder is live for us in Beirut. Zaina, you're at the scene of that latest attack. It's a popular beachfront destination. Tell us more. What are you learning there?
Well, yes, we are in Ramat al-Baida, a seaside boulevard. The site of that attack was a few hundred meters from where we are. The Lebanese army has told us to move away because they found an unexploded ordnance and they are now trying to defuse it. So in the early hours of the morning, it was a double tap strike. An hour or so ago, we showed you those 2 craters on the ground. The target appears to be displaced people, because this is an area where people who have been displaced by the conflict, who have left their homes, either from the south of the country or Beirut's southern suburbs, they're living in their cars, in tents. 8 people died in those strikes. Now, it followed warnings by the Israeli military late on Wednesday that they are going to carry out an extensive wave of attacks. It followed Hezbollah's largest rocket barrage across the border. So the Israeli military, as well as the media, talking and reporting about an escalation in the hours and days to come, with saying that all targets are legitimate in Lebanon. We've talked about intense strikes targeting areas like Beirut's southern suburbs, which are empty of residents. We've talked about so-called precision strikes, where the Israeli army targets members of Hezbollah or even members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards in Lebanon, or members of Palestinian groups allied with Hezbollah. But this seems to be different. It seems to be an attack on civilians who were seeking shelter on the side of the road, because there aren't enough places for people to go to.
And so, for the first time in this conflict, a combined attack by Hezbollah and Iran on Israel. I mean, this is a significant moment. Are we now talking about a combined attack and also a combined war front?
Yes, we entered a new phase on Wednesday night. Hezbollah launching more than 100 rockets across the border at the same time. Iran launching missiles toward Israel. The aim appeared to be to overwhelm Israel's air defenses. It has happened more than once in the past few days, but this is the first time we are getting a statement from the Iranian Revolutionary Guards calling this a joint and integrated operation, saying that there is coordination, official coordination and cooperation. At the same time, Hezbollah's Secretary General Naim Assim releasing a statement, renewing his allegiance and pledge to the new supreme leader in Iran. So Lebanon really is no longer, it's not a separate front, it is one front. This is a conflict where Hezbollah entered this conflict saying that it is retaliating for the killing of the late Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. And it has really drawn a lot of criticism in Lebanon for doing just that. But now with the IRG statement, with the statement from Hezbollah Secretary General, it is now formal, really, if you like, or official, that this front is the same, really, is the same theater of military operations as that of Iran.
Zaina, many thanks.
I don't feel like I want to finish this.
You're watching Al Jazeera's continuing coverage of the ongoing conflict between the US, Israel, and Iran, and
This
reminder
is-
of the latest developments.
This is
Iraq has suspended operations at its oil ports after 2 foreign fuel tankers were attacked.
This
in
is
the southern
shit.
port of Rafah.
Okay, I'm not gonna finish
Behind the
this.
strike. At least one crew member was killed while another 25 were rescued. Early Thursday morning, Bahrain's Interior Ministry also reported an attack on fuel storage tanks in a vicinity in the Marak governor. They blamed Iran for the attack and said authorities are taking measures to handle the incident and secure the site. The US and Israel have continued to strike Iran with explosions seen in the central city of Isfahan. Iran says
Or
more than
I can
1,300
just-
people have been killed since the war began. Well, the conflict in the Middle East has disrupted global energy markets, pushing up the prices of oil and gas. Before the US and Israel launched their offensive on Iran on February the 28th, the two most common types of crude sold at $65 to $70 a barrel.
Then finish this. I don't want to finish it. I don't want to finish this. I don't want to finish. I don't want to finish it. The forbidden drink.